Unitarian Universalist Church. Piedmont UU sits on the traditional land of the Catawba, Keawe, and Shiguri peoples, and we honor them. My name is Elaine Deck, and I'll be the worship assistant this morning for the Reverend Dr. Amy Rio. We are a flourishing, vibrant, and radically welcoming congregation which promotes diversity, inclusion, and social justice. We provide a safe haven for creative intellectual growth, spiritual development, and a deep sense of community for all who join us. We hope that our religious values will challenge you to join us as a community that lives boldly and acts justly. To all of our visitors and our members, we're very glad you're here, whether in person or with us online, and we do hope to see you again because your presence is a gift to us. Now, a few announcements for this Sunday. Our Generosity Pledge campaign will begin in just a few weeks. As we prepare for this, Becky has an announcement from the team about a special opportunity today, if she is in fact here. Okay.
I think we mentioned this last week, but announcements running my head together since I see all the emails. So anyway, the Generosity team, the theme for this year's campaign is the power of we. And those of you who've been around for a while know we like to take some pictures to help get some good energy going. And so, yes, we're going to be taking pictures to signify W with the we. And Anna, do you know who's taking pictures after worship today? So I'm asking Anna because she's on the Generosity team.
I thought it was,
Elaine. Oh, Elaine. Okay, Elaine's sitting here beside me. Elaine, so just, during coffee fellowship time as we're hanging out, of course, we also have something else going on today after worship too. Hang around and just get a little picture, and we'll be able to use that with some of our campaign. So, thank you.
The art fundraiser will take place after worship today, and Anna back there has a little bit more information to share from the fundraising committee about this fun activity. You want to say anything about that?
It's after coffee hour or coffee time and the pictures. It's $10 for adult canvases, $5 for kids. We have paint, we have sponges, we have big brushes. And there will be a larger canvas that will hopefully all contribute to that could be used in conjunction with the Generosity.
Fantastic, thank you. I hope you'll stay and do that. It's going to be fun. Next week, Charlotte Pride is coming up, and please check your email announcements to sign up to help at our booth. And if everything works as we anticipate it will, the choir is going to be singing at our booth, Born This Way. Yay, yeah. We're going to sing it here too. CUPS, or our United Unitarian Universalist Pagans, will have their book group this Wednesday night via Zoom, and all are welcome even if you haven't read the book. So please check the weekly email for more information if you're interested. Reverend Amy will be away from the office starting tomorrow for about 10 days. And please check your email for contact information if you need some assistance during that time. For other important information about our vibrant community, please see your order of service, or if you're on our email list, please check our monthly newsletter and weekly announcements. And now, whatever brought you to this place at this hour, we welcome you. May you find something you need, and may you leave richer in spirit than when you arrived.
I'm going to add one more announcement today. This has been in your email announcements, so hopefully you've read about this. The Charlotte Pride Interfaith Worship Service is today at 4 o'clock at UUCC down in Sharon Amity. And I'm going to be helping lead a portion of that. But if y'all are available, it's always just a wonderful, very uplifting service where we have people from so many faith traditions who join as we prepare for a wonderful celebration of Pride next weekend. As we move towards lighting our chalice, hear now these words from Sean Gibson. We light our chalice in the spirit of transformation. Nothing stays the same. Everything moving, shifting, changing. Guide us all to a wild and holy vision of our shared humanity. Please join me now in singing the words to lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith. I invite you now to please rise and body your spirit for our call to worship, which is found in your bulletin. Please join me now as we share in this together. Each one of us gathered here is holy. Divine light shines within us and radiates from us to the world around. We join together this morning, remembering that we are holy. We join together this morning, trusting in the sacred fire that burns in our souls. Let us be guided this morning by what is holy. Amen. Our first hymn is found in our great hymnal, number 336, All My Memories of Love. please be seated and invite any of our young ones to come forward for our Time for All Ages with Miss Madia.
Good morning. So, our RE lesson today, I forgot our jet pig. He's in our classroom. I am so sorry. Amelia Pighart, our jet pig, is in the classroom waiting for us. But she is here in the room in spirit because she wants me to talk to you today about generosity. Now, you've heard this word already this morning, those of you who were in here, because we talked about the beginning of our generosity campaign. And I want to talk about what that means for you, what generosity means for somebody your age. Do you know what the word generosity means? Do we have any adults in here who can, maybe we could phone a friend and they can help out? What does generosity mean?
Being willing to share.
Being willing to share. Anybody else have a good one? That was a really good one. Thank you, Ms. Gale. To give what you can. Those are both really good definitions. I want to talk to you today about what it means to be generous with your time. Because a lot of times when we talk about being generous, it means giving something, and people often connect that with physical things. So giving presents or giving money or giving items, right? But I want to talk to you about giving your time. And the way we're going to do that, I'm going to read you this book. So this is Stacy Speaks Up. And while I'm reading this book, I want you to think about how the main character, Stacy, is generous with her time and gives her time for her community. This is written by Stacey Abrams and illustrated by Kit Thomas. Mr. Dexter's class excitedly lined up. The whole school had voted on the special lunch they'd get at the end of each week. There was a tie between pizza and tacos, and the entire second grade voted for French fries. So Principal Howard made a compromise with Taco Pizza Friday. This was Stacy's favorite part of the week, after Adventure Day in the library. She always sat with her best friend, Julie. In the cafeteria, Stacy laughed at Julie's knock-knock jokes as Zivko tried to balance the tray on his head. See that picture there? He's been pretty successful, huh? Standing in line to pay, Stacy heard a boy in front of her whisper, "I don't have any lunch money today." "I'm sorry, but the rules are the rules," the cashier explained. "I have to take this tray back." Frozen, Stacy watched as the boy walked away without any food. Suddenly, she wasn't hungry anymore. At the lunch table, her friends giggled and gossiped. "Are you listening?" Julie complained. "Are you okay?" "Not really," Stacy replied. Zivko shook his head. "But Taco Pizza Friday is the best." Quietly, Stacy told them what happened in the lunch line. "I should have offered him some of my food. He probably would have been embarrassed," said Jake. Stacy felt herself get hot and jittery. "I still should have done something." Jenny shrugged. "What could you do? We're just kids. We don't make the rules." Stacy thought about it. "But what if the rules are very, very wrong?" Julie suggested, "Maybe we can tell a teacher." Stacy looked around the cafeteria. For the first time, she noticed several kids with empty places where their trays should be. Stacy said, "I know who we can talk to," and they went to the library to speak to the librarian, Mr. McCormick. He let them know that there is going to be a meeting of the school board, and those are the people who make the rules, and that it would be a really great opportunity to hear from the students about the problem. Stacy thought about what Mr. McCormick had said. Stacy really didn't like public speaking. How would she convince everyone? Why should they listen to her? She worried all night. Then in the morning, she bolted up and ran downstairs. Her parents were sitting on the couch. "You're awake early," her father said. "I figured it out. Maybe I don't have to say anything." "Why not?" "Remember how you and Mom met in college?" "At the petition drive," recalled her mom. "We saved a park from becoming a gas station." Exactly. Stacy told them her plan. "That way, I don't have to say a word." Dad kissed her forehead and Mom gave her a hug. "We can give it a try." "Is everything okay?" "Okay." That afternoon, Stacy and her friends got together and ran all over town handing out petitions for people to sign. Stacy's older brother even put the petition on the neighborhood website. As more people heard about their protest, Her mother's phone kept ringing, and so did her dad's. It was a wonderful sound. On the day of the assembly, Stacy set up a table at the schoolyard. Kids from all over the school brought in their petitions. Stacy happily counted the sheets. With all these signatures, she wouldn't have to say a word. Stacy entered the auditorium where the school board was about to arrive. Principal Howard, yes, Stacy, is this about your petition? I have more than 500 signatures. Can you tell the school board? It was a great idea to get signatures, but I think they need to hear from a student, don't you? So Stacy thought about it, and she decided this was important. So she stood up to speak, and she motioned to her friends, who each carried a pile of petitions to the stage. She leaned into the microphone. Lunch is the best. It's one time that kids get to make their own decisions, especially on Taco Pizza Friday. Everyone laughed. Stacy continued, but not every student can afford to buy food at school or bring it from home. As she spoke, her voice got stronger. This week, kids from around the school worked together. We asked parents and other adults to sign a petition. Stacy thought about what Mr. McCormick told them about change. She had to find the right words. You have the power, she pointed to the school board members. We need you to do something today. Principal Howard said, Stacy, that's not how the system works. Jake shouted, why not? Jenny and Julie joined him. Why not, they demanded. More students started chanting, why not? Finally, a boy made his way to where Stacy stood. She passed him the microphone. My name is Grayson Monicelli, he began shyly. I'm one of the kids who doesn't always have enough money to eat lunch. He stared at the floor. Stacy reached out and squeezed his hand. He squeezed back and continued, we deserve to learn without being hungry. All the kids in the auditorium cheered. The principal walked back on stage. Thank you both for bringing this matter to our attention. So you'll change the rules, Stacy asked. One of the school board members answered, we'll discuss it. We have to follow a process. It takes time. For the next month, Stacy and her friends went to see the principal every Taco Pizza Friday with a list of how many kids didn't get to eat that week, and she and her friends told children at other schools about what they were doing. Then one morning, the principal made an announcement. Because of the great efforts of our students, starting today, every child will be entitled to lunch, whether they can pay or not. At our school, no child will go hungry. For the rest of the day, Stacy and her friends celebrated their victory. Mr. McCormick had been right. Using her voice had helped Grayson use his, and words on a page combined with words spoken out loud made a difference. Imagine what else their voices could change together. So, I started this talking about generosity and being generous with your time and giving of your time. How did Stacy show that she was being generous with her time? What did she do? Yeah. She took time out of her day to help people. She saw a problem and she thought of what she could do to fix it. She was a kid, so it's not like she had a whole lot of money. She couldn't pay for everybody to have lunch, right? But she thought, I can take the time out of my weekend, out of my afternoons, out of my evenings, and get all of my friends together, and we combined can do something to make it work. So, today in RE, we're going to continue talking about generosity, and our lovely jet pig, Amelia Pighart, is waiting for us back there already. And Amelia is going to help us think more about how to be generous with our time. All right, so let's get on up and go.
So we now enter into our time for ritual and sacred sharing, where we share joys and sorrows and concerns and milestones. So for the candles that we light this week, we first light a candle for Eric D's father, Jim. And many of you know Karen and Eric. Eric's father has been diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor. He's been sick for the past few weeks, and they've been trying to figure out what's going on, and this has been the result. We light a candle for James. I think I saw James over here. He's having a knee replacement tomorrow. So all the best wishes. So, Stanley B., a long-term member, fell and broke her hip recently. Susan B. with ongoing health concerns. And then, believe it or not, school is getting back in session. Some are already back in session, so we light a candle for children and educators everywhere as they start a new school year. We light a candle for people who are being impacted by ICE raids. For all who are suffering in Gaza and for the immediate relief for these conditions. For all areas of violence around the world, especially Haiti, the Sudan, the Middle East, and the war in Ukraine. And for our country, that we might continue to work towards creating a society which is filled with love and empathy, civil rights, and justice for every single person. Now, at this time, you are invited to come forward as you feel led to do so. You may enter along the far wall here, and then we have our prayer stand where you may fill out a prayer card to place on it. You may light your own candle of joy or concern, or place a stone in our shared water together. We now light a few more candles for the things we hold in our hearts which remain unspoken, and also for those who are joining us virtually to honor what is in their hearts as well. Now at this time we will enter into a period of quiet rest, meditation, or prayer. I will sound the singing bowl. And then during this time of silence, I invite you to deepen your breath and settle more fully into your seat. And as you slowly breathe in and out, Connect with that divine light which resides within you. Imagine it glowing strongly and filling every pore of your being, and filling your heart and mind and soul.
This morning's wisdom reading are a number of selected quotes from Persuasion by Jane Austen. We, none of us, expect to be in smooth water all our days. How quick come the reasons for approving what we like. She prized the frank and the open-hearted, the eager character beyond all others. Warmth and enthusiasm did captivate her still. She felt that she could so much more depend on the sincerity of those who sometimes looked or said a careless or a hasty thing than those whose presence of mind never varied, whose tongue never slipped. Woe betide him and her too, when it comes to things of consequence, when they are placed in circumstances requiring fortitude and strength of mind. If she have not resolution enough to resist idle interference, it is the worst evil of too yielding and indecisive a character, that no influence over it can be depended on. You are never sure of a good impression being durable. Everybody may sway it. Let those who would be happy be firm. An interval of meditation, serious and grateful, was the best corrective of everything dangerous.
So today is the conclusion of our series on spirituality and story as found in the works of Jane Austen. Now, for any Jane Austen lovers, you may have noticed that during these 5 weeks that we are not covering a 6th novel that she wrote, Mansfield Park. Now, there's a couple reasons for this. One is I really only had 5 Sundays where I needed to find something to work with. And then it also seemed, what's the one novel? Oh yeah, definitely Mansfield Park. It's a little bit more of a morality play, and I feel like her other works had a lot more humor and joy, which would be a lot more fun for us to explore and talk about. So for today, we're exploring this final complete work, Persuasion. The protagonist is different from the other protagonists in Austen's novels because this is an older woman. She is 27, okay? So, now, in the Regency period, over 200 years ago in England, a woman of 27 who had yet to be married certainly was older, right? That was just part of what was going on. Now, Anne Elliot is the middle daughter of a baronet, minor nobility. And her father was a rather foolish and vain man who had wasted so much money of the money that he was born with that the family finds themselves in greatly constrained circumstances. Anne's mother had been a rational and thoughtful woman. Anne was truly her mother's daughter. But her mother had died a number of years before. Anne's elder sister is the mirror of her father in both sense and vanity. And the youngest of the 3 girls is married to a gentleman farmer in the area and is something of a vain hypochondriac. So, as you can tell from this family, the family story here, Anne, since her mother's death, has been quite isolated in her family. She clearly saw the folly of her fathers and sisters, and she especially disliked the way her father had lived far beyond these generous means that he had been born with. Her one consolation was her mother's dearest friend, Lady Russell. Lady Russell lived in the neighboring estate and was also someone who was thoughtful and kind and intelligent. And she was the one person in Anne's life who truly recognized Anne's value and her intelligence and kindness. Now, at the start of this novel, Anne's father is having to retrench, a common term if you look at anything of the Regency period, because he has spent so much of his money and is in such great debt. Retrenching is basically downsizing, but trying to do it without losing face. So he and Anne and Anne's older sister will be leaving their estate, this grand estate where Anne has always lived and the family has been for generations. They will be moving to the city of Bath to a much smaller home, but one where the baronet can still feel his importance in society. So the home estate will be rented out, and Anne is left to get everything in order. The father and the older sister are soon gone. Anne has to take care of all the details. The new tenants will be coming in a few weeks' time, and the new tenant is an older admiral and his wife. After Anne gets everything ready, she is then to go to nearby, just a couple miles away, to her youngest sister's home and to settle with them and her extended family for a couple months to help take care of her younger sister Mary while she's having her hypochondriac complaints, right? And to help make things calm. Now, when all these arrangements are made, Anne immediately recognizes the name of the admiral and his wife. She knows that the wife, Mrs. Croft, is the older sister of the only man she has ever loved, a Captain Wentworth. Now, Captain Wentworth had been in that area when Anne was 19. He'd been there for a few months, visiting his younger brother, or I guess older brother, who was a curate. And he and Anne had quickly fallen in love. Now, he was a young man who had not been in the Navy long, did not have much money, and certainly no family of consequence. Yet Anne saw how amazing he was and agreed to marry him when he proposed. When he petitioned Anne's father, her father was so rude not to even respond to the request. And even Lady Russell, the one person whose opinion Anne really valued because Lady Russell was like another mother to her, even Lady Russell convinced Anne that Wentworth was really beneath her. No fortune, what would they live on? There was no telling what his career might be. And so Anne was very reluctantly persuaded to end the engagement. Now, in the coming years, no one else had ever interested her, and she had not left her home very often. But yet she had very quietly, to no one's knowledge, followed Wentworth's career diligently. Every paper that she could get any information about what was going on in the Navy, especially with these Napoleonic Wars, she would find. She knew what ships he had been on, what action those ships had seen. As you might guess, Captain Wentworth had made his way in the world. He had become a well-respected captain and now had more money than her father did. Now, Wentworth, as the beginning early parts of this novel, he visits his sister at Anne's former home, and throughout several months, his and Anne's paths cross on a regular basis. Now, to skip to the end, ultimately he realizes the love he has for her has always been there and has bloomed again, and we have our happily ever after. Now, as the title of this book lets us know, the topic of persuasion is paramount in the interactions of the various characters in this novel, but especially with Anne and Wentworth, as they are starting to get to know each other again, with none of the companions around them really having any idea of the history they had. There are various conversations about peer pressure, stubbornness, what it means to be persuaded by others. Was Anne wrong to be persuaded by a trusted older friend who had been like her mother and normally given sound advice? Were others around them wrong or right in being stubborn or non-persuadable? When was stubbornness a value, and when was it a fault? Now, yesterday morning, I had our spiritual journey class for people who are interested in membership, and as we were talking about what the spiritual journey is, and we said that one thing that UUs love is the gray areas, right? We love the gray areas. We know that a number of people in our congregation have come from some very rigid religious backgrounds where they have said, this is right, this is wrong, this is yes, this is no, there's no in between. But we know that life is messy, right? Life is filled with gray areas. Now, in this novel, Anne learned with age and maturity to trust herself, to trust herself, to trust that inner divine light. Yet, towards the end of the novel, when she and Wentworth have reconciled and they're talking over the past, she is clear that as a 19-year-old, as she was when they first met, she says, I was not wrong to trust in the judgment of an older and thoughtful woman who she trusted more than anyone else in the world. Now, a couple hundred years ago, they didn't know about frontal lobes of the brain and how they're not normally fully developed until mid-20s, right? So we know Anne is probably making a pretty good point here. But Anne realizes that she learned to trust herself more in her own inner wisdom with age and with experience. Now, this has become my favorite of the Austen novels, probably the past 10, 15 years. And I know that one of the reasons it has been is the great joy I see in this book in someone who is a more mature woman in her late 20s, but learning to trust her own judgment. Even when others around her think quite differently, and trust her own inner wisdom. Now, in the novel, when Anne finally settles in Bath, there is another suitor who looks like a very good suitor who is there and obviously interested in Anne. Anne believes that Wentworth will never love her again, that perhaps he might even be in love with someone else. And this other suitor, everyone is charmed by him. Everything just seems to be very positive about him. But her inner voice is telling her that something is not quite right. So she does not respond to his flirtation with her. And of course, she also knows in her heart she still loves Wentworth, even though it doesn't matter if he will ever love her again. That's how her heart feels. Now, by the end of the book, Anne is proven right in her judgment of this other character. But she took a big leap of faith in trusting herself to reject him. It was risky. Rejecting him, believing that she might never marry, knowing that with her father's expenses that she would live a life in poverty ultimately. She took a big risk, but she stood firm in her resolve and doing what she believed was right, listening to her own inner wisdom. Now, I think every single one of us here, we all can think of times, I'm sure multiple times, where we kind of the saying is, spoke with our chest, right? We stood firm because there was something that we believed, even if others around us thought, doesn't seem to make much sense, not certain that's the best thing to do. I was, as I've been speaking with a couple of people who are entering college or going back for a second or third year college, I have been reminded of when I was 18 and getting ready to head off to college. And I had planned to be a math major and maybe be a mathematician or something like that one day, because I was really good in math and, was a mathlete before that term was coined. And my father, an engineer, thought that was a good decision. I had a big dream the summer before I went to college, and I've always had lots of dreams, and I woke up and immediately knew this dream had a message from the divine for me, that I needed to major in religion. Now, I didn't know what I would do with that. I thought, well, I'm definitely not going to be a minister, because, oh my goodness, my grandfather had been one. I knew what that'd been like for him, and even though he'd been dead for years, my granny, who'd been married to him, still resented being a minister's wife. And even when Granny was having dementia, she'd still say some things about how some of those church members treated her because she didn't play the piano or sing, right? So I still majored in religion. People kept asking me, well, what are you going to do with that? And it even has some guys who would say, well, are you going to be a nun? I was like, I'm not Catholic, one. I just, thinking I might just get a PhD, be a religion professor. And Dad, he never said it, like, Amy, really don't do this. I could tell he was a little hesitant. And then my mom reminded me that my stepsister spent over 7 years going through college because she kept changing her major. And so he just had some concerns, and he was still, trying to be supportive. And of course, ultimately, he was always very supportive of everything I did. But I can remember back in those days doing something I really didn't know what I was going to do with this, but I knew that divine light was telling me, this is what you are meant to do, Amy, and things will unfold. It's so hard to trust ourselves at times, isn't it? Especially if what we deeply know is different from what others or society is saying around us. It can be so hard to trust ourselves. Carl Jung once wrote, "The one who looks outside dreams. The one who looks inside awakes. The one who looks inside awakes." When we look inside, when we listen to that deep inner knowing, that divine light of the universe that shines so brightly within each and every one of us, we are awake to who we are truly called to be. We are awake to the true spiritual understanding and connection. And let's remember that the word Buddha actually means one who is awake. That interior awareness awakens us to who we are truly meant to be. Now, there's no simple formula for being awake to our inner divine light, to learning to trust ourselves. I think it does come more easily to some than others. But true confidence in our own deep knowing is not what society thinks it might be. It is not this thin veneer of self-confidence, confidence or bravado that our society seems to promote. True confidence in our own deep knowing stems from self-love. Self-love, because that divine light burns brightly within each one of us. And the fruits of that self-love, that divine light, are compassion, humility, kindness, gentleness, self-control, and peace. Learning to trust our own inner divine light, to be persuaded by its wisdom, it's a lifelong journey. It begins with baby steps, and with practice, it does become easier. Doesn't mean it's a linear journey, right? Journeys are never like that. They're up and down all over the place. But with practice, learning to trust ourselves and our inner divine light becomes more natural. And with time, our inner divine wisdom will cancel out the foolishness of the world around us. Now, the first principle for UUs is the belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And that includes each one of us here. Today, let us be persuaded that we have inherent worth and dignity, inherent divine wisdom, which will always lead us along the best path. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
Thank you, Anne. That was beautiful. Let there now be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, as a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of that dream. This month, we're sharing our offering plate with Gender Education Network. Established in 2018, the Gender Education Network is a nonprofit organization dedicated to trans children and the information and education they need. GEN is a unique organization focusing on children under 12 years of age, the youngest among us, and their needs as they navigate the community of their own bodies. GEN provides resources for care and education to families who just need a little guidance in loving and accepting their child for who they are. Our hosts will pass the baskets, and we ask that as you get the baskets, pass them down the row as you receive it. You may place your gift in the baskets as they make their way around the room. And of course, you're always welcome to give online at puuc.org or text to the number 73256. Today's offering will gratefully now be received.
We give thanks for your generous spirits, and as your generous spirits continue to embody our values as you use, we know that this is helping share love around the world. I invite you now to please rise either in body or spirit for our closing hymn on our gray hymnal, number 6, Just As Long As I Have Breath. Before we extinguish our chalice, I offer thanks for all the many volunteers who help make our service possible each Sunday. I also ask if you can leave your hymnals on the cart near the piano after the service. That is always a big help. And I also want to remind people, we've got the wonderful art fundraiser afterwards, and this is, you do not have to be good at art, okay? This is letting the inner divine light shine through. And then Elaine's going to be taking some pictures for our generosity campaign, so please stick around for both those things. Let us take a moment now to give thanks, either in our hearts or with words for others to hear, for the things for which we are thankful today.
I am very grateful to Carl and Myrna for sharing their blueberries, and there are blueberry muffins in the back. The berries were just baked yesterday.
All right. So Gail has made some blueberry muffins in the back from Carl and Myrna sharing their wonderful blueberries. So thank you.
I just got back from a family reunion. I'm very thankful for family.
Gio's returned from family reunion and very thankful for family.
I'm very thankful for contractors during our remodel.
Yes. Thankful for contractors during the remodel. Yes.
Well, I'm grateful for you, Amy, on your third anniversary as our minister.
Well, thank you. I appreciate For those joining us virtually, today's the 10th? Yeah, tomorrow is the third anniversary of my being present with you as your minister. So I'm very honored, so thank you. Well, we give thanks for all these things and so much more which we hold in our hearts this morning. Let us go forth, knowing that each one of us is holy and trusting in our own inner divine light. We now extinguish our chalice, but we carry its light, its warmth, and its meaning with us until we meet again. May we go in peace, believe in peace, create peace wherever we may wander. May it be so. Now for our closing song, we form a circle, and you may hold hands if you would like to, or you may simply place your hands on your heart.